Welcome back again, and today we will be discussing clauses. A clause is a group of words that contains a subject and a verb that have a relationship. This relationship is crucial. A clause conveys information about what that subject is or is doing, rather than simply being a random grouping of words. Because a clause expresses an action or a state of being, a clause can often, but not always, function as an independent sentence. In a simpler term, a clause is a group of words that contain a subject and a verb. There are different kinds of clauses. They are independent, subordinate, dependent clauses, which are Adjective Clause, Adverbial Clause, Noun Clause, and Relative Clause, Coordinate Clause, Non-finite Clause, and Principal Clause. An independent clause expresses a complete thought and can stand alone as a complete sentence. It functions on its own to make a meaningful sentence and looks much like a regular sentence. In a sentence, two independent clauses can be connected by the coordinators, and, but, so, or, nor, for asterisk, yet star. Example: Ted Williams was the greatest baseball player ever. Dependent clause. A dependent clause cannot function on its own because it leaves an idea or thought unfinished. It is also called a subordinate clause. These help the independent clauses complete the sentence. Alone, it cannot form a complete sentence. The subordinators do the work of connecting the dependent clause to another clause to complete the sentence. In each of the dependent clauses, the first word is a subordinator. Subordinators include relative pronouns, subordinating conjunctions, and noun clause markers. To subordinate one sentence to another, use a connecting word called a subordinator. The following words are examples of subordinators. Although, contrast Johann loves strudel although it upsets his stomach. Because, cause/effect Hyacinth drinks mocha latte because it has high caffeine. When Kayla gets up in the morning, she tries to avoid Gretchen. If, condition if Angelo doesn't have an energy drink, he is not fun to be around. Common subordinators and their meanings. Although, even though, whereas, while. Contrast. Since, because. Cause/effect. If, unless. Condition. After, as soon as, before, whenever, when, until. Time. Remember, a subordinate clause, or dependent clause, does not have a subject and/or verb and cannot be considered a full sentence. A subordinate clause beginning with a subordinate conjunction answers a question such as, why, or when, or how, which makes it adverbial. For example, although the play was publicized weeks in advance, opening night was poorly attended. In the example above, the subordinate clause joins a dependent idea, the play being publicized well in advance, in contrast to the main clause. Because the subordinate clause explains the reason opening night was poorly attended, it therefore modifies the entire main clause in answer to the question, why? Example: because she broke my heart, I moved to Korea. In this case, because she broke my heart, doesn't contain a subject. It is considered a subordinate clause. It can be used with words such as who, that, because, if, when, although, or since. An adjective clause is a dependent clause that modifies a noun. Basically, adjective clauses have similar qualities as adjectives that are of modifying nouns and hence the name, adjective clause. These are also called relative clauses and they usually sit right after the nouns they modify. Examples: Gretchen is looking for the 25 cents that went missing last week. Crab Shack is talking about the guitar which used to belong to the great Kahuna. Adverbial clause. By definition, these are dependent clauses acting as adverbs. It means that these clauses have the power to modify verbs, adjectives, and other adverbs. Examples: Alice danced until her legs gave up. Joe and ran to the point of passing out. I read through the book at a fast pace. Noun clause. Dependent clauses acting as nouns in sentences are called noun clauses or nominal clauses. These often start with how, that, other WH words, what, who, where, when, why, which, whose and whom, if, whether, etc. Examples. I like what I see. You need to express that it's upsetting to you. Ivy knows how things operate around here. Relative clauses. Relative clauses tell more about a noun or subject in a sentence and can be used to combine two sentences together. Let's look at a sentence and use a relative clause to shorten it. I met a man today. The man was from Greece. As you can tell, these are two sentences that we can put together and make one sentence. Let's use a relative clause and make one cohesive sentence. I met a nice man today who was from Greece. As you can tell, we made it into one sentence. Let's do another. That man is from Germany. He has a beard. The man who has a beard is from Germany. There are three relative pronouns we can use to describe subjects. Who describes people. That, things, places, and sometimes people. Which, things and places. The man, that was from Spain, bought the house next to mine. The house, which is next to mine, was sold yesterday. The dog that bit my sister was mad at. Coordinate clause. Two or more similarly important independent clauses joined by coordinating conjunctions, and, or, but etc., in terms of compound sentences are called coordinate clauses. Examples. I like taking photos and she loves selfies. You prefer flying but she always wants to ride a horse. We are going to visit Jasmine or she is coming over? Non-finite clause contain a participle or an infinitive verb that makes the subject and verb evident even though hidden. In terms of a participle, the participial phrase takes place of the subject or object of the sentence. Examples. He saw the nosy neighbor, who was, staring out of the window. She is the first person, who enters the office. Hearing the fireworks, the dogs began to howl. And finally, principal clauses. These have a subject, noun/pronoun, finite verb and an object and make full sentences that can stand alone or act as the main part of any complex or compound sentence. Independent and principal clauses are functionally the same but named from different perspectives. Examples. I know that young lady over there. He can exercise every evening. Gretchen boxes like a pro. Well, we're out of time today. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope you will return next time. Until then, thank you.